Good evening, Final Fantasy Randomizer fans, and welcome to Week 2 of Fall League 2021 Candy Coated Carnage. My name is Luffy. I'm joined in the booth tonight by two people in Velik and Cheesinator. How you guys doing tonight?
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Hello, it's great to be here.
So we are running a three-person booth tonight because we have 4 people on stream and another 10 people off stream that we're going to be keeping an eye on, sharing a little bit of spoilage here and there, but not too much to affect you guys watching. But we got some fun flags tonight. Velik, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, I'll go ahead and jump right into these bad boys. So tonight we are running what is being known as Floaterless Classic. And so what we're going to see tonight is a race that's, while still a randomizer, going to be relatively close to a vanilla experience, minus the fact that the airship is banned. So what you're going to see is a lot of sailing around the world, although it will be fast, because luckily we have faster ship turned on. But some of the other important things to note of what we're going to see is our party comps might be maybe a little off meta from what you might be used to, although I think for a lot of these runners this is actually a pretty normal thing to see. But tonight every runner is required to take a fighter in their party, as well as all black belts are banned. So no punching anywhere across this entire race, yet everyone's going to be most likely swinging swords with a fighter in their first slot. So other than that though, our flags might be considered relatively standard. We have 50% to 200% scaling for our monsters as well as our fiends. We have a 5% scale on XP and gold per incentive item. But one of the other interesting things that you'll see from runners is going to be a lot of chest checking tonight, as there will be 2 loose items somewhere out there in the world. Could be in Earth Cave, could be in the Cardia Isles, could be immediately in the Temple of Fiends. We'll see tonight. And the runners are already off, so we'll go ahead and just get our first looky here at what the seed's going to provide us.
Ooh, level
And
1
with-
fade.
And with the party compositions on screen tonight, the level 1 fade is actually going to really validate the people who decided to pass on the white mage. You got 2 fighter rainbows and 2 fighter thief red black comps, but level 1 fade, your red mage is basically already a white mage, but better.
Level 1 Ice 3 as well, the best sweeper you're going to want to see rather than Nuke, so that black mage also going to be pulling his weight.
We got an interesting change down there on Crab Cake's stream, immediately putting the thief into the first slot. I wonder if she's planning on either getting more first strikes or less ambushes, or is going to try and immediately get the thief killed off for her party.
I think it's usually a little bit of both. You're expecting a couple marginal gains in your first strikes, but then the thief is probably going to be dead by sometime between like Pirates and Marsh is usually when they go.
Yeah, but I think if you see a thief in these flags, if you're not looking to run those ninja strats, if you take him past level 7, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, I do find it interesting. Normally when I take a thief, if I don't get an early tail, that thief is pretty much a floor tank until I get near Topher, bring them back up, maybe get them some black magic. I think the only other caveat to that is if we found a rolled up katana, but something I didn't get to for this flag set is all armor and weapons are actually rolled neutral, so we won't see any pluses or minuses across any of the equipment tonight.
And this early key getting us into the Caneria locked treasury is actually really, really helpful because that's one of our incentive locations. And there's a one of the ribbons. I didn't hear a fanfare though. Is that the loose or the one of the other 2?
I think it was probably one of the not incentivized ones. We're using Zero Cool's audio right now. But I didn't see a pause with the fanfare, so it lets me think that it probably wasn't. That's a free ribbon. They'll take it.
It's definitely one of the more difficult things in a flag set like this, where you have 2 loose items, but you have, in this flag set specifically, 4 equipment items that are incentivized, which means you really have to keep your eyes open, because if that Vorpal drops in a random chest and you don't realize it was an incentive item, and you're still counting for 2 other looses, that's going to hurt you a lot in the long run if you're, diving, maybe Marsh into Marsh Locked or something that you wouldn't have normally ever touched without realizing it.
And that definitely confirms that was one of the 2 unofficial ribbons. The official one, you will hear a fanfare. That's sort of a modern feature of the randomizer that reduces confusion about loose gear.
Ooh, they were hoping to sell that heel helmet, I think, for a little bit more than they got, but it's fine.
Yep, cash may be a little bit hard to come by here.
There we go. Okay, refresh RPG limit break. Looks like we have a bottle for sale there in Provoca. I didn't notice what the pirates gave us when I was trying to fix my internet. Sorry about that, folks. Live TV will do that sometimes.
Great magic here, by the way, continuing to justify the choice of the red mages. There's Fast Life, Lock 2, and I think Cure 3 also was at level 2, so you can really pick and choose what you want for early game or late game.
Yeah, we got Night Learnable Life as well, so that's going to feel pretty good. Oh, that's interesting. Shumbobby found the ship in Dwarf Lock. Ship was loose. Okay. Interesting.
Nice. That's already one of our 2 loose items out of the way.
And that's definitely one you're going to want to find, because you need that to beat the game right now.
Yeah, it also probably increases the chance that the other loose is then something that's not going to be required, whether that's the white shirt, defense sword, or that other ribbon.
And looking like our item from the pirates is, or at least for Dusk Plume, it was a renamed ruby, which is something that you can change in your fun percent flags.
I'm a fan of the fun percent flags. I love the multi-instrumental Sarah, and I've gotten a little bit of a feel now for the Titan food and Titan items and stuff. It's kind of cute. I like it.
Yeah, I definitely get a chuckle every time I see like a hurdy-gurdy come out.
Yep.
And of note, we've got the early ruby flag on to help the item appear earlier in the incentive pool, and it leads to 2 on-land checks. You can go through the Titan's tunnel and check the Trove, as well as reach Sarda, which is the only way you'll reach him without an airship.
I love Speedboat. Speedboat's so good.
Yeah, I have to admit, in all my practice seeds so far, with Speedboat turned on, I keep accidentally sailing a little too far whenever I'm trying to go between locations, because I'm just not used to the speed yet.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult to kind of work your way into these ports right here.
Like Shum showed us, there was a little bit of gold in Matoya, but reset out of it. Guess it quite wasn't worth his time.
Yeah.
Zero Cool is making the trek back. It looks like 2 Temple of Fiends, probably to get these loose boxes here out of the way. There's 3 that are just sort of generic chests, not incentivized, behind the key and Temple of Fiends first floor.
Normally those would be nice little locations to check as well for trap tiles, but as you can see, we have gargoyles on the tile where there's supposed to be gargoyles. So we have vanilla non-shuffled trap tiles tonight, so we know where our runners can grab some levels if they want them. The question is, will they?
And Duskbloom's got their white mage down on the ground already, and I totally don't blame them if they just leave it that way, because so far the white mage can't really do anything that the red mage can't do better, except maybe it has a few more charges. By the way, that bottle. There's something about this flag set. The map has been modified so that Gaia and Lefane can be reached by land. There's an inlet in the ocean up there that you can take a river dock into the area by Gaia, and you can also go through a mountain pass, up to Gaia. And you'll be able to turn in that bottle once we have the canoe, which opens up everything in the world, basically, because canal was free.
Yeah, it's almost a blessing and a curse that you found the bottle early, because that might lead into an earlier canoe, but once you have that canoe, your options just explode. So we're going to see a lot of divergence whenever it does pop up.
Yeah, with the location of that ship right here, too, it's kind of funneled our runners into the same area right here in the early game, so the divergence should come pretty soon with the free canal and obviously the free bridge to get us to walk around, because we're still going to need that canoe, which could be anywhere right now.
Crabcake's spending some of her massive pile of money on what's actually a lot of good bounty in Elfland. Pro Rings for sale for a very cheap 3,500. There were a couple of good level 4 spells like Lit 3 and Ruse, and then there's tents for sale for cheap and houses for not so cheap, but you still need to buy houses.
Oh, Cure 4 and Life 2 as well there at level 3 magic. Cure 4 Red Mage learnable. Life 2 slot 4, I believe, is Red Wizard learnable?
No, it's totally white locked, but we're okay with that because if we've got Life and Cure 4 already, that's basically the same thing.
Yeah, you got the poor man's Life 2 right there.
Crabcake's finding the Opal Bracelet as well in the Elf Armory is going to be really a great item choice paired with that ribbon for any backline character.
So right here, almost about 10 minutes in, what are you guys thinking for your turn-ins or digs right here? Are you going to turn in that ruby right away like Shoom's doing? Are you going to go dig Marsh Cave where there's an incentive item? What's your thoughts right now?
Because Marsh Cave can't have a loose item, it's a really quick dungeon. Even with the key, apparently the unincentivized locked boxes cannot have a loose item in them. So you can just kind of run down there and see if the incentive item's any good. If it's something like the loot, you could maybe leave it behind until later in the game if you really need to reset, but it's going to be a fast dungeon. So I like Crabcake's play here, and then I think I would follow that up with Shoom's play of going out to the Ruby, because it's 2 key items.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Crabcakes is looking for the rod here or something, so that she never has to return back over to the Melman continent once she gets over there. You're already having the ruby in hand. If you have the rod as well, there's no reason to ever go back, except maybe to translate the slab real quick. And so I'm wondering if the marsh dive being performed here is searching for that very specific item, which there it is in the box.
Ooh,
Yep, so rewarded.
Yeah, commentator blessing right there instead of commentator curse. Well played, sir.
When I was commentating on Saturday, I got called a witch for guessing too many items and their locations.
I think, honestly, with a lot of my practices, too, I've seen early rod quite a bit to kind of open up Earth Cave and the possibility of going there, so that's not shocking to see it right here, but that was still a pretty nice call, brother.
Yeah, you said it was a blessing, but I wonder if maybe the runners are going to think that it's actually the reverse. And the reason I would say that then is because now you're opening up the rest of Earth Cave to be the location that your second loose item could end up with, and it maybe being something that's needed for progression. You could see like a loose chime down there, or well, I suppose the loot by the end of the game, you'll have to hit Earth Cave eventually, but
So I saw Sar to give the TNT. It looks like Shoom had the canoe, too, because he docked there at the river system. I didn't see where he picked that up.
That's probably the Titan's Trove then, because
Right,
it's the only
right.
other spot we haven't accounted for.
That makes sense.
And then, as far as like clearing out the Earth continent here early, our magic is pretty good, right? We've got healing, we've got revival magic, we've got sweepers, and a ribbon for, say, the red mage. So I think an Earth dive isn't totally out of the question. It is sometimes dicey going in there. A lot of different mobs can roll bad spells and scripts, but if you can get to like level 8 or 9 worth of magic charges, and all you've got to do is mosey on down and take care of Lich, it's not a terrible dive. If you're going to full clear, though, you might want to put it off till you have like mid-teens, so you've got a few more resources.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've definitely in some of my practice seen some scary things down in Earth Cave. I mean, the mobs themselves could be relatively weak, but unrunnables are shuffled into this flag set, which means you might run into something that you can't get away from that does end up having something scary. You know, whether it's like a cremate or a stone or damage poison, you know, something along those lines could certainly, or rub coming from the scums could also.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think Zero's actually in Marsh right now.
Shumbabi's showing off a really fun feature of this flag set. The Cardia Islands are accessible by ship, just Bahamut's lair on that sort of double entrance island, but all the chests that you wouldn't be able to access otherwise without the floater have been moved behind Bahamut into the Dragon's Hoard, which is just a set of loose chests. It's not an incentive location.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this play makes a lot of sense with another loose out there since it's so many chests, and then it seems that he was already planning on heading over here towards Ordeals. I certainly think it's a good check to make. Although, if he does plan on promoting later on, once you find the tail, you are sort of backtracking in that regard. But then again, you never know. Maybe the tail was a loose item, and it was in Dragon's Hoard. These things are possible.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. So we have the other runners, Duskbloom, Crab Cakes, both covering the ground that Shum did. Shum hasn't been to Marsh yet and is off in Ordeals, so currently seeing the only new territory out of any of our runners. Everyone else kind of catching up. Not bouncing out, but just looking for a better spot on the encounter table, sort of frequently resetting.
I think he was getting a feel for the pillars too and realized he zonked himself back, so I think he's got it now.
Yes, that's a feature of the randomizer, but it's so classic you sometimes forget that it's not vanilla. This has been happening since before I started playing almost 3 years ago, is that we shuffle the pillars, so you actually have to figure out if you go up or down when there's a fork, and at the four-way it's also like sometimes a nightmare. Sometimes it's the last pillar you check.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, these nightmares are nasty. They got glare and stone poison, but Shum gets through.
Crabcake's turning in her TNT, the incentive ribbon is accounted for, and she of course has her canoe as well, as Duskbloom does. So everyone's got just about all the transportation they'll ever need. We are land and sea bound today.
I think the 2 ribbons for all of these groups is going to make a very large difference, given that most of them have either the white mage or the red mage with life already, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like Crystal was what we found out at Ordeals from Shum there. And it's like we're going to get our first look at the zombie dragons, which might be a location that some of our runners decide to take some levels if it does end up being a relatively easy encounter with the Fade casters. And it looks like the zombie dragons were not too bad, so there's a decent chunk of XP coming out from that.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a classic grind tile.
Mm-hmm. So somewhere between 140 and 312, so a good Fade cast and a light axe should be able to do it.
Down on Crab Cake screen, we're getting our first look at Crescent Lake, and I believe that was the Chime.
Ooh, Chime and Cube, you know what I'm thinking.
Sky, 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 sky.
Yep, the combination of Mirage Tower and the Sky Fortress, Sky Palace, whatever you want to call it, those have the most chests in them in the entire game, and like all the other Fiend dungeons today, they're not incentivized, but can have our second loose item.
Mm-hmm. I think we got 53 boxes in Sky too, so that's one of my favorite dungeons to get early access to. That's a lot of checks.
Yeah, I think it also makes sense we see our runners head that direction, not only for the chest density as well as having both the Chime and the Cube to get into Sky, but also the fact that they have the bottle, and then there's always the possibility of finding something good to take some levels on in the desert as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, levels is going to be an interesting problem to see the runners solve today. We're probably not going to see much standing still. Fighter parties, especially if you drop one of your 4 characters, do generally fare better if you just kind of walk and take fights. But with early access to both sea and sky, walking and taking fights should be relatively easy.
Shumbabi getting the tail from Matoya, parking at the river system there from the north side. Savvy move. Gonna go turn that in right now and get his promotion.
I think I saw Crabcakes found a katana somewhere. Is definitely going to be a useful endgame item, so she brought a thief.
I think it was in the Dragon Sword, so that was a nice
Yep.
find.
Then again, our other runners will probably like seeing it as well, because if they're ever strapped for cash, it makes a great item to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Chad is pointing out that we've gotten a high amount of the required key items so far to beat the game, with loot being the only one that none of our runners know about. And that, I think the difference between that being loose and that being at one of our incentive dungeons could be as much as half an hour sometimes for seed time, because it could mean a full clear of the game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, seeing that loot as your last one is certainly scary.
That is one of the worst items that I'd like to not see, because if that can be anywhere, there's no logic to it. It can be in any chest, anywhere. You only need it to get through the last part of the game. It can literally be in the 2 chests right there, right before the loot plate, if it really wanted to be and really troll you. So it gives me agita knowing that that is out there somewhere.
Wait, it can't be in Temple of Fiends behind the 4-orb gate, so it can't be by the loot plate, but it can be anywhere else. Duskplume was getting the business from some of these blizzard casting packs down here in Marsh Cave, but is so far about halfway down with or actually more than halfway down with 2 characters up. So fingers crossed they make it out okay. Rub goes wide. I think we have pro rings.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of pro rings to go around. I think there was at least 1 or 2 in Marsh.
Yeah, they're for sale somewhere as well. Pretty cheap, I think a little under 4K, so it should be no problem equipping your whole party.
I think Shum's going to give us the first look at this bottle here, making his way to the back of Gaia.
And we get ourselves a crown, so that might push Shum back toward the marsh area, which we know he needs to go to pick up that rod.
Yeah, this is, by the way, just an example of the kind of cross-map fetch quests that there's really no good way to route. You know, the game just says, sorry, see you again soon. Oh, and, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Crabcake's picking up the crystal. Might head towards Matoya next and search for that tail. Will pay off in dividends if she decides to do that. While we have Zero Cool also popping into Titans, about to grab his canoe, as well as assuming head over to Sarda for the TNT.
And given the classic nature of these flags with no weapon blessings or curses, promotion is really critical, because the only real endgame capable sword out there that you can equip before promotion is the Maza, because anyone can equip it, but the tail being so accessible to our runners is going to make it so Vorpal or Excalibur or something of that nature will be able to work in a pinch. And the Vorpal is incentivized.
As well as a defense sword is out there too.
Zero Cool making his way back from Sarda, just picked up his TNT. A little bit dangerous for an old man with possibly limited faculties to be playing with, but it's in safe hands now. I trust this Black Mage not to blow anything up.
Alright, Crabcake's getting her promotion. Is Shroom going to turn in this crown? And that was fast. I missed it. Oh, white shirt.
Alright, so what does that leave for checks? We've got Waterfall yet to be seen from any runner, Ice Cave yet to be seen from any runner, and a whole lot of loose space left out there.
Yeah, a whole lot of chest density out there in the world somewhere. So, what do you think your play is right here? You're obviously going to probably finish your incentive locations before you start digging any kind of dungeon, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've basically got two equivalent plays: Waterfall and Sea versus Ice and Volcano. Both of them give you one real incentive and then one probable incentive, given how many chests are in each of those dungeons. But really depends on where you're at with your magic, how much saving gear you have, all these other considerations about your party's current state. Sometimes you want a few more levels before Sea because you gotta make sure you can tank a few Kraken hits.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, is if I was in this position, I think I might default closer towards Volcano or Ice in this flag set, just because both of those locations have a very, very good grind tile, whether it's the Eye in Ice or the Agama tile in Volcano as well. If I was low on levels, I think I'd look to one of those sooner for turning around to get some levels and finish off those incentives, as you were saying.
I might look at it the opposite way. I'd like the idea of going to Sky because of the fact that, like, the enemy XP you can get there would be pretty much just as good on if you took a stationary grind. But your levels is a good point. Like, if your levels aren't comfortable, I don't know if I would do that. But with level 1 Fade, I'm pretty confident that you'd be able to get through most anything there in Sky in the first level and grab some cheeky levels pretty quick.
Crabcakes is munching on some sandwiches. Nom nom nom. One of the best overworld formations for grinding up a party. They generally have lower HP and low physical defenses, and then pretty respectable experience per minute.
I definitely think one of the two fighter nights this week, since the required party member and the banned party member do shift day to day, two of the nights will have a forced fighter. I'm assuming both of these nights will be the ones that lend themselves more so towards the low level incentive that is happening for Fall League, where the person who defeats Chaos with the lowest, highest level in their party, if that makes sense, the person in their party who has the highest level, whichever person has the lowest one of those, is awarded extra points for their team for the week, and that's across all 4 days in this case. Certainly, the black belt nights, you'll probably see black belts no less than 32, unless someone's really crazy going in with a level 21 black belt, but certainly the fighter ones. Do you guys have any thoughts on what levels you think we'll start seeing our streamers diving Topher? Do you think we'll see lower 20s? Or I don't know if you guys have practiced, and what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think the EXP is kind of tight in these flags. You're not going to see people getting really high unless they are pushed into all 4 different Fiend dungeons for a full clear for loose. So probably something in the low 20s, crest into the mid 20s while they get towards the bottom. Sometimes people will take an offbeat strategy and go to 2-person party because they really want to get the fighter ground up to hit a breakpoint for Vorpal or Excalibur, but generally, low to mid 20s.
Yeah, looking at some of the breakpoints here, for that Vorpal, you're going to get 4 hits at 22 and 5 hits at 32, so kind of really want that 5th hit, I think, in these flag sets, so we'll see where they decide to take it to. Defense Sword is a little bit better, actually. 4 hits at 18 and 5 hits at 29, so, interesting.
Yeah, 4 hits at 18. I mean, you give fast and a couple tempers, and you got someone swinging pretty powerful at that point. Although chat pointing out that the scaling for our fiends is 100% to 200% on the HP. So while stats are only 50 to 200%, meaning we could see fiends that don't punch that hard and don't have that much absorb, they still could have quite a bit of HP on them.
We got simultaneous action here. Zero Cool, Shumbabi, both in the waterfall. Currently Zero Cool locked up with an encounter, but we should be seeing this incentive very soon. Will the robot be our Go Mode savior today?
Checking at some of the other runners off stream, I'm looking at, you're seeing a lot of the same thing from some other runners. I see Sawney Wrath is in Ordeals, DVS just promoted, Fryteeth is in Waterfall as well. So the seed has been pretty linear, it would seem, for everybody across the board, especially our runners off stream. So this is going to be a pretty good tight race here coming up to the end.
Ooh, Crab Cakes now in the top of Earth Cave, looking in chests, gonna try and find something loose, maybe get a little bit of an edge. Though often you'll see the first floor of Earth cleared out, then sort of a dive further into the dungeon before really committing to the full clear. And that was an herb off the robot, so TBD, we don't know.
So we've seen the incentive white shirt. We haven't seen the defense sword, the Vorpal yet. So,
What is that fighter swinging around in a couple of the different parties? It is blue.
I think it's an ice sword.
Okay. The Vorpal is also blue, but I guess, oh, if it's a fighter pre-promoted on Zero Cool, then it couldn't have a Vorpal.
Yeah. Oh, Crab Cakes found the Massa in Earth.
Ooh, that is a big game right there. That changes your calculus a lot. Now you really just want to get the incentive and go without worrying about, like, do I need to dig for a weapon? Do I need to dig for the power gauntlet? Like, you've got fast tempers at level 5, so the black mage is going to have a decent number of casts. Yeah, really big advantage every time you see that weapon when nothing is blessed or cursed.
Question in chat from Demon Frog. Are both loose accounted for? I believe we've only found one loose so far. So, no.
Yeah, that was the ship in Dwarf Locked, exactly as JLo says.
Yep.
By the way, thanks to our trackers tonight, JLo and Guardian Marcus, is that right?
Yep, that is correct.
Nice.
Pushing the buttons for us behind the scenes and keeping us straight here in chat. We appreciate you guys.
Looks like Crab Cakes also found the Aegis shield in Earth. Means that paired with those 2 ribbons, Magic's going to have a hard time doing any damage against this party.
Yep, the Aegis shield nullifies stone and poison, bringing it down to a 3 in 256 chance to land. Something like a break or a bane or a stone poison or similar sorts of spells reduces the damage of damage poison. Lots of stuff that can come out from the late game fiends. Ooh, here we have a TFC Earth check. Crab Cakes leaving nothing behind. Sun Sword, okay. That's actually pretty respectable.
Yeah, it's not bad for the red mage there. That's pretty good.
Duskplume occupying the same dungeon right now. Black Mage gets taken down by a giant. This is the Hall of Giants, by the way. A sometimes grind tile, I think, from the vanilla game. I certainly spent a few hours here in the past.
Looks like they're going down to a single fade cast too, so I think he's trying to get into the mid to low teens, like you were saying earlier, to feel comfortable about just heading into this dungeon and finishing it while he's here.
And Zero Cool Shumbabi both are doing that combo Waterfall Sea play, because as we see, they're both turning in the Oxyel, or whatever it is, putting on the Oxyel, breathing it, something like that, so that they can drinking it, so they can enter the underwater shrine and navigate their way to the Kraken.
With a name like Oxyel, I always kind of thought ale like a beer, so it was a drink, but I mean, you know, lore.
And we got left side first for Shumbabi. When you're hunting one loose item and the right side with the mermaids isn't incentivized, this is a pretty classic route to go Kraken first. If you beat the odds, if you find the loose item here, then you've saved yourself an entire half of the dungeon.
Looks like Zero Cool going to go the opposite way and going to go clear mermaid side first while he's here.
Yeah, Chad is pointing out we have shuffled unrunnables right now, but there are still unrunnables compared to some of the other flag sets we've played lately, and it just happens that one of the classic you can't run from this formations, the Wiz Sahag and Red Sahag in Sea Shrine, has rolled in unrunnable, and sometimes that pack is really nasty.
Yeah, I had that unrunnable pack back in the Duck Derby race where they were spamming Fire 2 at me, and it made my life a nightmare in Sea Shrine.
Yeah, when you get that many of the same mob and they all have some spell, regardless of how weak it is, when you pile it on itself that many times, it's hard not to feel the pain from it.
Yep, 20, 30, 40 damage across 8 enemies adds up real fast.
Alright, clear the 4th floor of the Sea Shrine for Shumbabi right now, while Zero Cool is in fact in the right side of the dungeon. There we have TFC North, or aka the Canoe Gate chest. Crab Cakes is almost done with Earth Cave here, 4th floor. Dusk Plume continues to grind the Hollow Giants tiles, but may just be wrapping up.
We're going to get a TFC check here from Zero Cool. And just a couple bucks.
Alright, first Fiend of the Night. How much resistance will Lich put up? That's a big fade. Fast comes out with, I think, good turn order. The fighter has not swung yet. There comes the Maza for a jillion damage. 7 hits, 663. And Crab Cakes at the 34-minute mark is the first on-stream runner to light an orb.
You know, I feel like we haven't seen that many unrunnable fights yet in this flag set, and I feel like that might not bode well for our runners as they get closer to the end of the game, with more unrunnables being harder fights to get away from in the end.
Yeah, the place you don't want them to roll into is Temple of Fiends Revisited, because then suddenly that means you're using up precious charges. For example, our trackers pointed out that actually, no, Chanigan in chat, who's not a tracker but is a mod in the channel, pointed out that Nuke is level 7 today, which is not a place where you can really spam it from.
Yeah, I was doing something kind of fun earlier where I was doing a practice run, trying to see if I could go into Topher around level 20 to see how it would go for me, and I ran into unrunnable Agamas, unrunnable Gasties, unrunnable Mudgull Stone Gull, and Topher basically said, "You're getting XP for your party whether you want it or not."
It's a big shift from last week's flag set, which had a short Topher. When you've got long Topher and the potential for unrunnables, you really have to come prepared in terms of your number of resources and be ready to budget some of that out. Maybe make use of things like the Mage Staff and the Thor Hammer.
Yeah, I was gonna say we haven't seen too much sweeper item magic, but I believe Zero Cool just found the Bane Sword in Mermaids.
Just need a Bane Sword to win. I think Dengwu is playing off stream tonight, so you can count on Dengwu to just solo the seed with a Bane Sword.
Have we seen Exfer yet? I don't know if that's something he's normally doing or if he's really just playing those improbable statistics.
I think we saw Exfer at level 6, possibly. It was pretty quick there in Crescent, but I try to keep a lookout for Exfer because it's one of those little utility spells I like to pick up, so I think I saw it there.
Crabcake's on the eye tile with no warp available. We're about to see what this was. Adamant. So another TBD fetch quest. I don't think we've seen the herb turned in, and this Adamant is the first discovery of it on screen as well.
Yeah, this is a very interesting seed. I mean, the runners probably aren't feeling too good with one loose out there and the possibility of it being the loot. I mean, this is really anyone's game at this point, depending on where that loot rolled. The first person to find it is really going to get a huge time boost compared to our other runners who are going to continually keep checking these chests in the dungeons.
And if that runner is Crabcakes, who has a Maza, that means probably no more chests opened from now to the end, whereas other runners might have to continue looking. Well, Duskbloom's just cleared out Earth, so they might have a Maza. I didn't see yet. The fighter did not do much damage there, so I think not.
I don't think he was swinging a Massa.
And Shumbabi is on a much beefier, or shrimpier, a much more seafaring fiend over there. Break goes wide. Break has about a 25% chance to hit. Second break does it though, and Shum lights his first orb at the 38-minute mark, while Duskbloom gets there first at about the 38-minute mark as well.
Okay, so we got Slab from Adamant, so another fetch quest.
Alright, I think this is a save in between going right side and left side for Zero Cool, who's going to continue finishing the Sea Shrine. No, actually going to dip out, not ready for Kraken. Says he might want to go see what that herb was from Waterfall first. Whereas Shum is now going the other way and doing his right side, so he'll get a Bane Sword, and I don't think we saw much else.
Yeah, I think that was pretty much the big prize over here.
Crabcakes, so it was Adamant to Slab, is now doing the back end of the Slab translation here down to Lefane. Will not get Lupa today.
No, but she might get the loot today. That was really bad, I'm sorry.
She might get Loot Pod.
Oh,
wow.
Okay, so that's big. That's big.
Yeah, at 39 minutes and some odd seconds, Crabcakes is the first on-stream runner to enter Go mode, and now just needs to clean up 3 orbs and get some levels and make her way to Temple of Fiends. So we know what every runner wants to do. Every runner wants to go to Ice Cave, wants to stop checking boxes unless they need a weapon or something, and wants to get that Adamant to Slab to loot chain going ASAP. You could say it's a little bit of like, oh, well, you know, one runner zigged, the other runner zagged and stuff, but when you play at the level she does where you can clear this quickly, because I think she's covered more ground than any other runner, then you kind of make your own luck, and she's just been really efficient so far. This is a great time with this amount of progression on these flags, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, something else about Crabcakes, I think you might notice that she's been doing that our other runners maybe haven't been taking quite the same level of advantage, is really a lot of encounter manipulation with the table. You'll notice Crabcakes is repeatedly saving, resetting, taking the first encounter, immediately resetting out of that, and then moving on across the overworld and dungeons as well. You know, you may only earn yourself like 10 steps before you take that first encounter, but it really starts adding up over the entirety of the seed, and I think that's one of the main reasons why we've seen her cover so much more ground as opposed to our other runners.
Yeah, and you see her here taking these trash fights on her way up Sky too. She's just going to keep gaining levels as she goes. She's going to be ready to go very, very soon.
Yep, and this is pretty much the ideal order to take them in, not only for proximity, because she was just turning in the Slab, but also if you do Sky and then the other dungeons, you get stronger here first using your magic charges, then you've got more levels so that you can run more efficiently, get more enemies to run from you, and so forth in the last 2 Fiend dungeons you take on. Yeah, Spells at pointing out a classic check here. So when I said no more chests, I forgot that there is in fact the CC Gambit, the top 4 in Sky 3. When you've got something named after yourself, you will often check it. I would say today maybe she doesn't quite need to, but you never know.
Well,
And it's
she's
just gold.
walking out of there with nothing but a heavier pocket.
Gonna go to the greed chest too. Okay, sure.
Yeah, the Sky 2 and Sky 3 are the 2 best floors to take fights on in the entire game, I think, or at least outside of the Temple of Fiends Revisited. So you don't mind spending a little bit more time here when you're still trying to get yourself into that sort of mid-20s shape. As we've maybe mentioned before, the Knight's going to get a 5th hit on that Masamune in level 24, so that's kind of the target. Zero Cool headed to promote, gonna get a very shiny party full of adult-looking characters. Actually, is anyone using vanilla sprites in this? Oh yeah, actually Zero Cool is the only one with vanilla sprites. So the characters have just gone from sort of chibi looking, like with heads the size of their bodies, to more adult shaped figures, I guess, more realistic shaped figures. We got the Queen of Dragons here, number 1, Tiamat, coming out with a blaze, which immediately blows away Dan and does a big chunk of the mage's HP there on the bottom. But 2 temper casts per round is really going to make quick work of this. That's already terminated, so Crab Cakes, 2 orbs now at 44 minutes. Shumbabi is in the right place for Go mode, but has not been to Marsh yet for a Rod, so this would only be Go -1.
I thought I saw them in Marsh earlier.
It wasn't in the early game because Shum was the one who went towards Titans and then Ordeals and things like that first.
When he turned in the crown, I thought I saw him go to Marsh. Maybe.
Oh, Chanigan says he has a Rod. Okay, so that's marked now. In that case, this fetch quest will get Shum started on the path to Go mode. Zero Cool about to do the bottle turn-in. Dusk Plume gonna hit up Sea Shrine here, simultaneous with Crab Cakes, though a little bit behind on the overall progression. Or leave. Or burn off encounters. Okay, never mind. Dusk Plume is going to Waterfall.
I usually like checking Waterfall before I dive sea when I know I'm coming to this continent, because, it's just something I'm comfortable with and I like doing.
The real question is, how many times have you tried Waterfall without the Oxy Ale, hoping that that was the place that you find it?
More times than I want to admit.
Hey, sometimes it pays off and you save yourself a couple minutes.
I think as far as my favorite incentive item placement goes is when
Alright, Shumbabi completely done with Ice Cave. Zero Cool headed to Sky. While not in Go mode, I wonder if this might lead to the dreaded Sky full clear, which we know today is not essential.
Shumbabi gonna head over to Volcano while he's in the area.
first volcano we've seen all night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looked like Zero Cool, before he took his encounter, is heading up into Mirage, first floor. Is there anything major out there that my fellow commentators can think of that we haven't seen yet? I mean, we've seen a loose ribbon, we've seen, you know, obviously Masa, Katana,
Mm-hmm.
For the people that
bracelet.
don't have the Maza, the combination of some other high-level sword and a power gauntlet are really important, and I don't think anyone has the power gauntlet. Shimbabi was checking some hairpins there in Volcano that might be suggesting a full clear because he's routed this before going to finish the fetch quest he got from Ice Cave.
Mm-hmm.
It's good proximity routing, certainly, to do the Fiend here in Volcano, but if it means you're also checking a ton of extra chests, it's a little unfortunate.
It's a somewhat fast dungeon with the damage tiles that don't advance your encounter table, but you still clearing a dungeon you're not really going to have to do. But I mean, I can't see him leaving here, going to turn in that adamant, and then coming back. This is the right play.
Yeah, for sure. Crab Cakes did some fasting tempering and then a bunch of lit 3s and did not clear Kraken this round. Has done something like 1400 damage already, so this Kraken's HP rolled near the max of the range. Is taken down. Crab Cakes now has 3 orbs at 48 minutes. Zero Cool in the lovely named less than greater than room, full of math symbols and treasure. Just finding kind of a bunch of garbage, though.
I think Shum actually found the dragon armor and another loose ribbon, if I'm not mistaken, so maybe not entirely worthless for checking out Volcano.
Oh, for sure. If Temple of Fiends, if one of the Fiends has like early in their script one or more of the instant kill spells, and some people go in and they're regularly losing like 2 to 3 light warriors right away, you could see an extra cache of ribbons being really valuable. But you know what? Here comes the crab train. I think because Crab Cakes won't be looking in boxes, at least nothing more than the absolute most opportune among them, she'll probably get through carry before Shimbabi does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see her maybe checking 2 chests on the way down here, right beneath the doors that are kind of free, but that's about it.
Circle has been whacking away at a couple of very meaty blue dragons. One of the actually, is this the grind? Okay, never mind. There was a random blue dragon on the previous floor, and on the blue dragon tile there. I thought for a minute that Zero Cool might have been grinding the blue dragon.
Oh, okay. Looks like CC is gonna chew on some Agamas here.
Not quite satisfied with her pre-Topher levels, totally understandable. Have to get a couple more before you really feel happy with diving against, as Demon Frog pointed out in chat earlier, the 100 to 200% enemies, or bosses.
Zero Cool finding the Excalibur on Sky first floor. If he doesn't end up getting the Masa out of Earth, that'll be an okay supplement for the night.
Yeah, with a couple temper casters it should get there. Oh, and there's the power gauntlet in the right side of basement 4 Volcano. Don't think CC's gonna go over there. So it's really only gonna come to people who, for whatever reason, are full clearing Volcano, like Shimbabi did circumstantially. I'm a really big fan of power gauntlet in flags that don't have blessed and cursed gear, because without the extra crit rate that you can get from a blessed weapon, you really need something to amp up your base power.
Yeah, I believe we also saw Saber at level 6, so there's no hope of the ninja getting to cast that either.
And that's what we were talking about for anybody in chat that's not sure. The Power Bonk gives you free cast of Saber, which raises your weapon's attack and your crit rate, I believe.
It's just your attack, but it's 16 per cast, which is better than Temper's 14, and it's a lot. If you compare buffing with Temper or Saber to how much attack power you get from Strength, it's not close. Fighter gets 1 Strength per level, and it would take them 32 levels to match 1 stack of Saber.
Yeah. Cece gets 25 on her knight, and here she goes down to carry.
Question in chat if the defense sword is loose. It's possible. We haven't seen our second loose item yet, but we also haven't seen the Vorpal at this point, so it is the other possibility of a loose item.
I think we've seen pretty much every turn-in as well.
I think the herb is unresolved on both the left 2 runners, so that means that one of the 2 swords is behind the herb and the other one is loose.
I just saw Shum had the Vorpal in his inventory.
Oh, okay.
Was that herb?
Yep, got it. So defense sword is loose.
Okay. So our unofficial third chacker in chat, Chanigan there, pointing that out to us.
Thanks, Chanigan.
Chanigan, the other quarter to our team, carry on our wayward sons, keeping us straight in chat.
And Crabcake's bulldozed through carry, so is on the way to the Temple of Fiends. Shouldn't need to stop for anything besides maybe some heal potions.
Yeah.
We have a low-level Cure 4 at our disposal, but heal potions will certainly always help you out, especially if that red mage gets wiped.
I think I saw she had 99 in her inventory already, so this is just go.
She might be buying... I was about to say you might go out of your way here to buy Life on the Knight if you haven't been back to Provoke us since, but this is just going to be Fade. Oh, Fade and Invis 2 on the Knight. So pretty good as well.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, pairing that with the white shirt as well means that if there are any punchy fiends, they hopefully won't be doing too much to the team.
Bobby bonking up, getting ready to take down Carry, which would be his second orb. And Crabcakes moves a bat out of the way and enters Temple of Fiends Revisited at 54 minutes. Just a blindingly fast time for kind of a sloggy flag set.
Yeah, this is crazy. Like, I mean, sometimes I only have 1 orb lit at 54 minutes in my practices, so this is impressive to watch.
Zero Cool still working through the full clear of sky, going through the spider floor right now, which is not very chest dense, but very encounter dense as far as good experience. And Shimbabi is leaving the area of the volcano.
Looks like we had an incentive defense sword there in the incentive chest inside of Sky.
Well, that's confusing. That's the kind of thing that makes you double check the flag page.
Yep, for sure.
And blink and you miss it, already onto the floor where we will see Lich 2. Don't think anybody has Quake. I think it was at a higher level today. That's if you roll high, it's the fastest way to get through this fiend. Slab picked up for Shimbabi, just needs to translate that to get into go mode. Duskplume has been fighting some sharks and Wizzahags here in the Sharknado room. Crabcakes pulls Lich 2. 500 to 1000 HP here. Very low magic defense, but does have a chance to cast any of the bad spells and scripts that are in the Fiend Revisited pool, which includes 3 nukes and 4 nuclears, as well as a swirl and a tornado and a bunch of other bad stuff. But we didn't see them.
Looks like Zero Cool is making his way across the Bridge of Destiny. Might get to see ourselves a Robot Chicken attempt number 2.
Okay, Carry hits decently hard, but not hard enough to even take away half of the HP for the knight, so the only thing you really worry about there is a nuke coming out second turn. Carry's going to have between 700 and 1400 HP on these flags. Okay, getting a little dicey for the for the knight, down to 201, but the Cure 3 is really helpful there. That heals him up to almost 300. Ninja contributing relevant chip damage with a katana. Inferno drops the Black Mage into a hat, but we're through. While Zero Cool has dispatched of the Queen of Dragons, Tiamat and Sky Palace, and lights his first orb at the 57-minute mark. And Shumbabi is just recently in Go mode, also around 57 minutes. Duskplume healing up, about to pull Kraken. Just fixing some gear here, maybe wants to equip some of the better armor onto the relevant characters and not the useless white mage in the back row, who is going to be tanking Kraken 1, while CC pulls Kraken 2. Very fiendish fiend, can just wallop a party member for 500 or 600 damage randomly with 8+ tentacles, and has between 900 and 1800 HP.
Ooh, that was 2 hits, 75 damage too by that Masa, so Kraken a little thick.
Yeah, thankfully that was a lit 2, which is one of those sort of safer spells in the revisited Fiend pool. Okay, alright, Fire 3. Not terrible. The Black Mage continues to stand, who's one of the unribboned party members, but still is pretty important to the game plan. Dark Touch. Kraken has rolled the Dark Touch from the shadows, but did not hit that hard through the Invis 2 casts that have gone up already.
Yeah, this Kraken 2 is giving Crabcakes a lot of time to buff up. Who unrunnable pack of with Sahag and Red Sahag over on Zero Cool's side. That's exactly what we were talking about earlier. If one of those enemies, specifically the Red Sahags, have some scary spell, that pack could be very, very dangerous.
Crabcakes did start running off the water floor before healing to full, and then caught a party that knocked down the ninja, but nobody else of value was lost. And is about to pull Tia 2 while Duskplume has orb number 2 from the Sea Shrine in hand. Zero Cool making his way over there, and Shumbabi climbing Sky, taking down some Whizvamps. Pretty chonky hit from Tiamat 2 onto the fighter, but we've already got 2 stacks of evasion up, and that hit came with only one of them up, so as soon as you can just prevent those hits from even happening, you're not worried about the physical threat. Cure 4 comes out to get the fighter out of range of any kind of magic. And good night, Dan. Alright, so Kraken was extra thick, Tiamat not so much. The recovery from this fight's not going to take too long. And that's 4 Fiend refights, so Crabcake's going to be pulling, was it Garland? Was it really Garland all along? The final boss of the game here, 2,000 years in the past, Chaos, who's going to have between 2,000 and 4,000 hit points. Could be respectable, could not be. We'll see how much respect their other runners have to pay, and if anyone's going to get bounced. Sometimes Chaos truly is the final boss.
Starting off the fight, casting both Invis 2 and using the white shirt for 2, and from the Knight as well for 3 stacks of invisibility just immediately. If Chaos is punchy, this fight is basically over already.
Yeah, that was about as perfect as the first round could go, because you get ink from Chaos, you get all this time to buff. Fire 3 is not going to do diddly to the ribboned up characters, so you're feeling really comfortable here. Except for the fact that
Ooh.
you did 7 hits, 145. No crits, to be fair, but you're going to need a few more temper stacks, and they are coming in droves from our red and black mage. Yeah, with all these buffs already up, this really only goes sideways if you see like consecutive nukes, the first one having to high roll to take out all the mages, but instead Chaos punched for nothing while the Knight countered with 6 hits of his own. Here come another 7 hits for 1100. Next round might do it. Wait, fight strats. The optimal way to finish your Chaos fight, and there it is, 10 hits for over 1100. Crabcakes has finished first on stream amongst our runners, and indeed first overall in the... Hang on. I'm scrolling back to make sure. Yep, that was first overall in this big race. So GG's to Crabcakes for the delightfully fast finish of 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 57 seconds.
Wow, that was just a clinic right there by her. Very impressive to watch.
Yeah, I think this entire time we were constantly talking about how that extra loose item might end up making this a really rough seed for a lot of runners, but Crabcake sort of, not only cleared out some dungeons, but very methodically sort of, it took everything that was the fastest check first. For example, going in and turning in the slab instead of full clearing another dungeon. And I think that really paid off here just because the loot ended up being one of the incentive items instead of the loose. And even if it was one of the loose, that sort of lessens the number of places it could end up, which sort of just makes it easier in the end to find it.
And if you have questions, Crabcakes, our first place finisher, has joined us in the chat room. She may direct interview responses or questions to us, but will not be featured on The Voice here, so go ahead and chat with her. Props and GGs. We're going to continue casting what our remaining runners do to finish off their seeds. Shumbabi is clearing out Earth Cave and just recently got through Sky. I don't see the air orb lit up, but Shumbabi is done with Sky, so this should be his last orb and a trip to Topher somewhere in the next 2-3 minutes.
Yeah, Waterfall, Crabcake's asking in chat, turned into Herb, which then turned into the Vorpal at the Elf Prince.
Yeah, and we've got some people who might be winning with a Vorpal, so they won't even have quite as easy of a time through Temple of Fiends, because you just don't have base damage when you use a Vorpal. You literally have to wait for the tempers to add up before you can get anything relevant going.
Mm-hmm.
We see Shum immediately walking over the speed bump that was the vampire at this point in the game.
There are 2 copies of Zero Cool on the bottom, kind of like tweaking out, like, what?
Yeah. Let me see if I can do something about that. I mean, I can do that right there.
There you go.
That's fine. Zero Cool in stereo right now.
Yeah. So
I mean, you have 2 eyes, right?
Yes. Zirkul's on the way to Ice Cave, so that, as we've said before, will lead to the final Go Mode fetch quest chain. Shumbabi almost done with Earth Cave. Duskplume has just cleared out Gaia. Should be heading into Sky here shortly, with an air orb yet to be lit and both the chime and cube in hand. And Lich 1 puts up enough resistance to take a total of 2 fades and a smack from the Vorpal. and Shumbabi is through. So that's 4 orbs at 106, just about 107 for Shumbabi. While Duskplume feasts on some steak, it's quite delicious. It's very nutritious. Can get you levels. Not interested in sandwiches though, so really just more of a meat-focused kind of diet here. Oh wait, changing their mind about sandwiches. We are going to down some hoagies, maybe eat some classic Philly cheesesteaks.
Let's channel our inner Caleb right here and talk a little bit about some food. What is your go-to sandwich there, guys? You a Philly cheesesteak guy? You a cold hoagie guy? Meatball sub? What's it gonna be?
Reuben. I just moved to New York, and I mean, there's delis everywhere here, but you have to get sandwiches with pastrami if you can, and they usually have like a mix of pastrami and like corned beef on the Reubens here. So sauerkraut, Thousand Island. I mean, it does it for me.
Ooh, I do love a good Reuben. Absolutely amazing when you get something melty. Just ugh.
Oh yeah, for sure. As an East Coast guy as well, I've had my fair share of New York delis and Philly cheesesteak trips as well. So delicious on both accounts there.
But you know, if I have everything available to me, I think I'm gonna have to go with a good po' boy.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I love a good Cajun flair, some seafood maybe. Oh, just a lot of good choices.
Heck yeah, great choices. Can we do more off-stream spoilering with finish times? Do people want to hear that?
I think with the first place finisher done on stream here, we can go ahead and share if we would like.
Cool. Well, we've got a special bucket-based scoring here for the Fall League, where after the first place finishes, you've got a minute. Crab Cakes had nobody in her neighborhood. She totally had an exclusive lock on that first bucket for 10 points. The second finisher, Devious RNG, finished 14 minutes later, but got second place, and unfortunately for me, as a cheese fry teeth, who finished in third place GG, was just over 2 minutes outside of Devious RNG's finish and won't share bucket 2. So that's your 10, 8, and 7 are already established, and now there's 4 minutes ish for people to join up fry teeth at 7 points.
Yep, and taking a look at some of our other runners' stream, I think Dengwu and Jay Shadell are both in Temple of Fiends Revisited right now, while we're watching Shumbabi on our stream entering there himself. So we really have a few runners here who could still end up making that third bin.
Alright, Shumbabi is on the third-ish, fourth-ish floor of Temple of Fiends, making his way down. Kind of run from these metal slimes, which sometimes you'll take if you still need the levels, but I think Shum's feeling comfortable here. Duskplume climbing up sky towards the Queen of Dragons, as Zeracool is in the river system, making his way to carry in the volcano for orb number 3.
I'm going to switch our audio over to Shumbabi since he's the one on screen on Temple of Fiends. I hate the 13th in chat saying that they want a Reuben now as well. You know, I do too. Like, I had dinner earlier, and you're talking Reubens with the sauerkraut and the melty cheese and the Thousand Island. It's got me wanting one now. It's some nice, real good rye bread. Like, oh, it's so good.
Shumbabi, pretty well geared out here, but like we said before, does have a Vorpal. That won't matter too much on Lich, but is gonna slow down these carry, and especially the Kraken fight, which someone in chat pointed out would be kind of a gatekeeper earlier, or maybe not a gatekeeper, but just a slow fight, because the longer you spend buffing, the more rounds you give Kraken to maybe take a wallop on one of your party members, or get 4, 5, 6 spells into the spell list and maybe uncork a nuke that we didn't see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming it's mostly because Crab Cakes was just so fast through the entirety of Temple of Fiends Revisited, but we didn't see a lot of the scary spells coming out. I mean, we didn't see many. I don't think we saw any nuke or nuclears, did we? As well as I don't believe Cure 4 came out on any of the Fiends either.
Yeah, really, really tame. I think Inferno was like the worst thing I saw. And Inferno, of course, can be resisted. Sometimes they're really low chance to cast spells or skills, and sometimes the spells and skills are just buried in the back of those lists. So it might be one of those more pedestrian Temple of Fiends Revisited today outside the HP for Kraken. Ooh, Banes. Duskplume gets a Bane. Poison Smoke terminated on Tiamat 1, who is vulnerable to the Poison and Stone element, and takes basically the same odds as Kraken 1, who has lower MDef, to be hit by those instant kill spells. Shumbabi has pulled Carry 2. Fasts up the Knight, who's taken a big chunk of HP off, so going to need to try and get a Cure 4 in there before something more terrible happens.
Ooh, speaking of food, Duskplume is eating some delicious red steak on screen right now.
Mm-hmm. Steak is food, not friend.
Shumbabi goes for a Confuse on Carry 2. Unfortunately, does not have that same vulnerability as Carry 1. But, could have hit the 3 and 256. Fade, though, going to come out pretty nice there. 155, 302 from the other one. That's even better. Where the Vorpal is not really pulling its weight. 7 hits for only 80 some odd. So I think it's going to be the... Oh, wow, we're just waiting. Okay, well, good call. Shum had calculated about where Carry was going to die there and got through the fight with no casualties.
Saw all 3 runners simultaneously there dealing with sea creatures. Kind of a fun little coincidence.
Yes. Gonna see a lot more sea creatures dispatched of in this flag set when everyone is ocean bound. Shumbabi just getting past basically the worst pack on this entire floor, which used to be very rare. The 2 Nagas plus 6 waters. When that one rolls unrunnable, you can be sitting there for a while.
Yeah. Alright, Zero Cool picking up his slab. Just needs to do that turn in to get in his go mode. Duskplume picking up the white shirt there from Astos.
Instantly seeing Thunder come out on Kraken 2, which we did not see previously. Already the Black Mage is down on the ground for this fight.
Oof, yeah. Fortunately, not critical to the game plan. We do have Power Gauntlet and some Temper casts available. Really just want to keep that Knight healthy. You've got Knight Life available, so one person needs to get through this, and it's that guy. Oh, and there's our first nuclear of the stream. Drops 1 Red Mage, puts the other 2 characters into critical range. We're getting decent damage. We're going for lock strats. Might not have cure. No. Okay, we're going defensive. No.
Oh no!
Cure Force targeted the Knight, but the Knight died before the second one went off. So now we're on 6% Brax to close this out. Yeah, and just about any chip damage from here is going to do it, and Shumbabi will wipe.
Oh, and
the
Cure 4.
Cure 4.
Wow. There you go.
All right. The action that you missed was our runners running from random battles. And you might have also missed Shumbabi, who unfortunately could not finish off the Kraken, who came out with a nuclear, a couple of big smacks, and then a Cure 4 just to add insult to injury. So Kraken is indeed tonight's gatekeeper. And I'll take this moment again to thank our trackers tonight, JLo and Guardian Marcus, who've been helping keep our heads on straight. Lots of runner action to follow here with these four-way races.
Bobby coming in for his second take at Lich 2 and getting the cake! Cake for Lich 2!
All right, happy birthday to Lich. For
If
your
we weren't-
birthday, you get to fall into a crack. Terminated.
As if we weren't talking about food enough, let's just add sweets into the equation.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've had our sandwiches for dinner. Now it's time for dessert. But in all seriousness, we've got yet another round of Carry 2 here for Shumbabi. Going with all buffs first round, the Black Mage doesn't even get one off before being leveled. Fast Power Gauntlet and White Shirt, so good damage uptick here, and a little bit of extra safety. We know Carry hits hard. Inferno, thankfully, doesn't touch us because Shumbabi has all three ribbons, having picked up one, I think, in the Volcano.
Yes, that is correct. There was a ribbon in Volcano Armory, as well as the Dragon Armor.
And the Vorpal there just did respectable damage. Makes you at least give a nod to the people who say that it's the best sword. I mean, it's irrational, but I understand, there are people out there that think that, and sometimes you see a Vorpal swing for a lot, like there. Zero Cool on the way to Lich here, going to clean up his fourth orb. He's been all around the fetch quests and the slab translating area. I'm not sure if he did slab translation to Lich and then we'll go get the loot following that. While Duskplume is going to come here to the volcano after having just been in Ice Cave to clean up the fourth orb. And this could be pretty close between Zero Cool and Duskplume, depending on how they handle Topher. But Shumbabi here is again at the hardest fight we know of.
Looks like he's starting a little bit more defensive this time around, and luckily Kraken 2 opening with that Lit 2 is nothing to worry about, at least for the first round.
Yeah, with the limited amount of temper casts for level 5 that the red mages are going to get, instead if you go with Lock 2 here, you can find some smaller ways to boost your damage while still contributing something to the fight and making your melee character stick it out for the long run. Oof. Zap sends the Black Mage to another dimension. The Black Shirt, if it had been found anywhere in the seed, would have guarded against that, but I do not think our Black Wizard was wearing one.
I think I saw a Black Shirt in Sky as one of our runners, either Duskplume or Zero Cool, was clearing it, so not many people probably would have got that.
For sure. Zero Cool is 4-orbed, Duskplume is about to be 4-orbed. Shumbabi sticking with Brax on the second characters, which with the Cure 4 being present is something you might need to do to get through all this HP on Kraken.
Mm-hmm. He might have been trying to wait it out too to see if he can get a cheeky Brack in while he was waiting to see if the Cure 4 would come.
Good call. has had a lot of rounds to stack evade. Now pretty much just has to worry about the nuclear. The 2 red mages are in range, but it doesn't matter. The fighter gets it done with the Vorpal.
Yeah, it took quite a bit of preparation there, but between the power bonk, the lock 2s, and I think there was at least one temper out there, the Vorpal is going to start doing some damage.
And Zero Cool indeed had translated the slab, but had not yet gone to get its reward. So following Lich has done that and is now in go mode at the 122 mark. While Shumbabi prepares to pull the wait, if the first Tiamat is the Queen of Dragons, is this like the what's higher than a queen on like the royalty scale? I don't know. This is the Queen squared of dragons.
Maybe if we're sticking with cards, she'd be the ace.
The ace of spades.
I don't know, she's got multiple heads, maybe that's more of a club thing.
Good point, good point.
Alright, so what do we got here? Cure 4 to get that knight topped off. All the buffs coming out. Lock 2 to lower evasion. This is looking like... Oof, alright, we might have to keep curing that knight because Tiamat just like a laser there to the top row. I say like a laser, but it is actually 50% chance to be attacked, so... You know, when you put your knight up front, like, you get what you pay for, and today we paid for the knight to get socked in the face.
Zero Cool making a play here that I like to do when I'm rolling without a floater, parking at the Matoya River system there and then just walking to Temple of Fiends. It's so much faster than trying to sail around.
Yep, great choice with having gotten the loot from the Lefanese citizens just before this. Lefanish, I guess.
Oh.
And the break does land for Shumbabi.
That was nice.
6%er clutches it out and manages to have every light warrior alive here heading into chaos.
That was nice.
Duskbloom on the way to get their loot, which is going to tie up the go mode score here and give us, a pretty respectable race, especially if Duskbloom takes the North Dock through Topher between those two runners. But for now, Shumbabi is on Chaos, going with a good mix of buffs and debuffs here for, well, debuff, I guess, on the opponent. White Shirt, Power Gauntlet, and fix the party order, so now the fighter is safer from melee attacks. Duskbloom hits go mode at 125. Shumbabi has lost a red mage down. The least important, I think, of the characters, because the black mage is the one that's got temper.
A bonk up and a temper up. There's a blaze.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of stacks of evade up to this point, and I mean fast temper and power bonk. Knowing that Cure 4 is not on Chaos, I think this should be fine for Shroom. Oh,
big hit.
1400.
Wow, there we go. There's the Vorpal we know and love.
Yeah, it takes a while to come out of its shell, but then when it does, it's whew. Okay, I guess it's solo carrying for us, and it better do it quickly because everyone else in the party is dead.
Okay, there we go.
So that is Shumbabi finishing 5th overall, second on this restream, with a time of 127.18. GG. And I hear a badunk from Discord, which I think means Shumbabi has joined us in the booth. GG.
Thank you. That is indeed my badunk.
Welcome, and how are you feeling about how that seed played out?
I'd feel a heck of a lot better if I didn't second guess myself and dive C. I very much didn't want to go back into it, and I'm like, this is going to be a time loss, and then it was, and that felt bad. But on the whole, a fairly kind seed up until that Kraken, and that was really just in feeling out Kraken got time to do Kraken things, but I think that if I were a little more leveled or had, I don't know, better weapons or something, maybe if I just dumped all the damage in, I don't know how I could have actually done that any quicker given my current setup.
Yep.
But,
You came in there swinging a Vorpal. Very few runners got the Maza, which was in Earth Cave. Crab Cakes got that and also didn't clear loose basically anywhere else because she did Ice Cave early, so that explains that ridiculous time. But yeah, Maza is basically the difference between killing Kraken before the nuclear and the Cure 4 versus not.
See, I was really excited that I skipped Marsh and missed that early Rod because in my practice run last night, actually, I got baited into doing an early Earth, but I see that would have paid off in this case.
So tell us how you feel about the placement of that loot. I think before you went to get the loot from the slab trade and you full cleared Volcano while having the slab inside your inventory. Was that simply a proximity-based play, or is full clearing Volcano something you wanted to do for equipment as well at that point?
It was actually both, because, I mean, I was still on that side of the world. There wasn't any chance I was going to want to come back to that. And I figured... the thought crossed my mind that I just skip the chests in Volcano and hope for the best, but I definitely needed a something in the way of gear, and it definitely provided with that ribbon and the dragon armor.
Also, I'm pretty sure you were the one who got the power gauntlet on the right side of Volcano B4, and that was critical because you were down with like one light warrior sometimes there in Temple of Fiends.
Yeah, I think I would have had to gain significantly more levels if I didn't find the power gauntlet.
Meanwhile, speaking of that terrifying Kraken fight, Zero Cool is about to pull it for the first time. And Duskplume is a couple floors back, has not yet fought one of the Revisited Fiends, but here we go. Kraken for Zero Cool, going to lead off with a swing from the Knight in the first slot, fast on the Knight as well, and the Black Mage going to turn into a White Mage and instead be responsible for the defensive buffs. That's an Excalibur, which does one hit for 50 damage. We're going to need some locks. The Ninja fasted itself and may end up here contributing with a Katana. Alright, we got some temper charges available on the Red Mage. Going to continue being defensive with the Black Mage. Thunder does chip damage to everyone except it actually just dunks on the Black Mage, who is down. So there goes our Temper Caster. We're going to switch it up to Cure 4 and try and keep our Ninja up. Alas, the Cure 4 is going to arrive after the Ninja dies to a stray spell. So how do we adjust from here? The Fighter's still swinging. Going to need to use some extra temper charges to make sure that Excalibur actually gets there. Fighter took some damage, but with a few evasion stacks, the Fighter wasn't going to get one shot. However, that second follow-up attack was frightening. 17 HP, one knee for the Fighter. Can we get a heal off before Kraken does something terrifying? Cure 4, turn order comes out. The Knight is safe. Swings for 2 hits, 153. Not what you want to see, but it's positive damage. And we remain up with 2 Light Warriors. There's 4 hits for 637. Zero Cool gets through Kraken first try.
Meanwhile, we have Duskplume, who's made it through Road Bump Squared, as Lich 2 was taken out relatively easily with no Light Warriors on the ground.
And who is now pulling Carry. Carry number 2. Going to go with the... deciding what we're doing with the Black Mage here. The Black Mage is gonna... Okay, gonna do the fast, and then we'll just go with a wait on the White Mage, who wants to save some of the precious few charges for a more dangerous fight. Four hits, 129 from the Vorpal, not quite enough yet. We're gonna keep attacking. We're gonna add any power to that. We're just gonna... we're gonna change our mind a few times, and eventually we're just gonna, I think, swing with the Red Mage. While we're going to wait with the white. So, interesting decisions here. We're just going to try to melee this down, I think, without spending too many of our spare buff spells. Inferno's spooky, but not too spooky. Still 187 in the HP pool for the Red Wizard, who's not otherwise contributing much with that Ice Sword. Nuke! Oh! And that's a reset for Duskplume.
Meanwhile, we have Zero Cool on Tiamat 2. Been very defensive up to this point. There were 3 casts of Invis 2 in a single round here. Really defending against all of those melee hits. Moving into the next round, now starting to be a little bit more offensive. 2 temper casts on the Knight. Knight swings the X-Cal, 8 hits for 457. No criticals, though. Next round, just going full offensive with 2 swings and a wait. Swings from the Red Mage with the Vorpal, doing a little bit of chip damage, and the Knight finishes off T2 with the X-Cal.
And that Knight just hit level 25, so good, solid level, but not enough to get the 5th hit on the X-Cal, which would come in a few levels later. While Duskplume is rediving, Zero Cool is pulling Chaos. Velik, you want to take this Chaos fight here?
Sure. Starting off with a little bit of order changing around, putting the Knight on the back, given that it is our win con in this seed here. We have the Knight starting with Lock 2, the Red Mage fasting the Knight, the Knight casting Invis 2 for some defense, and then the Black Mage also coming in with another stack of Invis off the white shirt. Chaos opens up with Fire 3, does a decent chunk of damage to some of the backline, namely the Black Mage, but everyone is up as it goes. 2 stacks of Invis come out. And we're turning a little bit more offensive now with the Knight starting to swing. Another stack of Invis coming out from the Red Mage this time. The Knight Cure 3 on the Black Mage to keep them up, hopefully to get some more temper casts out, I imagine. Another stack of Invis, we're up to 3 at this point. 4 hits for 117 damage from the Katana, not quite enough. Temper coming out on the Knight. Ninja still just doing straight damage. More tempers coming out from Red Mage and Black Mage onto the Knight. Chaos not doing anything with an Ice 2 cast. Katana 4 hits for 65 damage. Some chip damage, but not our win con here. The X-Cal 8 hits for 130, but no crits. Some more temper for that Knight. 139 damage from the Ninja. Chip damage will start counting here. 7 hits for 273 from the X-Cal. Still no crits. The Ink comes out putting Dark, which is effectively useless at this point in the game. Some more Invis. We got Chaos unable to hit anyone at this point. Another temper on the Knight. And now we're going full damage with a lock off the Black Mage. 8 hits, 516 damage, 4 hits, 138, and 3 hits for 56. That damage will start adding up, but Chaos blazes down the Ninja and the Black Mage. Red Mage swinging another chip damage, 82. Knight comes in with 513. Nuclear comes out, almost takes out the Red Mage, but they're both still up. Got a little bit of healing. Keep everyone alive at this point, knowing that Chaos can't do too much in the way of physical hits, and the magic up to Nuclear wasn't too bad. 2 hits for 111 from the Red Mage, 6 hits for 340, and down goes Chaos. Get your GGs for our third runner on stream.
GG. That is Zero Cool, who finished 3rd on stream and 6th overall in the race tonight with an hour and 37 minutes and 18 seconds on race time. GG.
So that opens bin 5 for our runners, and literally, what's that, 26 seconds later, Saracen finishing in 7th place with a time of 1:37.44. GG's Saracen.
And now we will turn... Well, we might get another interview here shortly if Zero Cool drops in, but for the time being, we'll turn our attention to Duskplume, who is on dive number 2 or 3. We certainly have had a little bit of a struggle here. We've got 3 good members and then 1 sort of not really contributing white mage who's just coming up for the boss fights. Might have to change up our tactics here to get through carry, because I do not believe Duskplume has successfully seen the Fiend of Water down here yet.
Yeah, we actually do have Zero Cool in chat with us. GG's, buddy.
Hey, thanks. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Alright, just making sure my mic's been walking.
So tell us how you felt about Topher or the seed in general.
Well, I mean, my practice seeds have been pretty, as probably a lot of other people's have been. The seed actually wasn't all that bad. I mean, I finished at least front half of the middle of the pack, so didn't do too horrible. The Topher was actually fairly easy. I thought, I guess Kraken 2 was supposed to be a lot worse than I actually experienced from what I heard.
Yeah, that Kraken 2 was definitely the gatekeeper right here. Had Cure 4, had Nuclear, was hitting hard, a bunch of chip damage spells. You had to take her out before she took you out for sure.
Yeah, I overall went in there with 25 and my black wizard being 23. I felt like I might have been pushing the boundaries.
Well, you definitely ran a really solid race. You had a good plan, it looked like. You were making good decisions. You know, it was really a pleasure to watch you, so GG's tonight for sure.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I was hoping I was making some good plans. I did end up getting the second loose, which I was hoping was going to be loot, but to my dismay was the defense that I never used.
Yeah, I think you were one of the few runners to pick that up on stream. In the incentive chest, nonetheless. How funny is that?
Yeah, that I do have to say that one was pretty whack finding it like that.
Duskplume once again making their way down onto the Lich floor here, fifth, whatever floor this is of Temple of Fiends Revisited. Considering taking some experience here, might feel underleveled, so gonna fight a pack of Gurmaduces, which are very experience dense. Zero Cool, how do you feel just about how you routed this overall with what you know about the flags and kind of that tension between whether or not you clear certain dungeons for a loose item or check out the incentive locations like Ice Cave?
Well, I think I tried to route that as good as I could. I knew when I first went to walk, I wasn't going to be able to take inventory. I was still kind of low level. I still wanted to get that gear and at least check right side. I don't know. I always figure that water and sky are the good ones to go in for those chest densities for loose. Because I honestly don't like going in for earth for it. And fire, I'm kind of... Fire armory, maybe, if I'm still looking. So I tried to route everything as much together as I could.
Yeah, I think we saw a lot of our runners on stream doing very similar things, where that first loose obviously being the ship was found very, very quickly, but the other one was quite elusive for the rest of the seed. I think a lot of our runners were thinking that that second loose might end up being the loot, and we saw full clears of every dungeon, I think, across all of our runners on stream at one point or another.
Yeah, I think we did. That's right.
Yeah, by the time I found that defense, I had literally everything but a monsoon and a power ball. Right?
Yeah, I think those the Masa was in Earth and the Power Bonk was in Volcano, I believe.
Yep, that is correct.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a struggle, but I think I made it okay without those two.
Yeah, certainly the X-Cal and the Vorpal are two endgame weapons that are easily interchangeable for finishing off when you have so many tempers and a fast and lock coming out.
It almost feels like the people in the race seem to be really feeling the lack of having a blue. Possibly.
Yeah, when you don't have a delete button for fiends, you really have to dig deeper into your bag of tricks. And I know there are some people in the community who haven't raced in as many tournaments yet up to this point, people who might have been dunklings during the summer and so forth. And that just comes with experience, learning how to wield a fighter, even into a difficult Temple of Fiends. What can you do with vanilla unblursed classes and weapons like they used to do back in the old fogies days?
I don't know what you're talking about with this no delete button thing, because I think I instant killed like 4 of the bosses.
Okay, all right, that's true. That was very well done, by the way.
Yeah, taking Bracken and Cake out of the equation. I think it was very exciting to see both of those kills. Especially without Expert, too.
Exfer and I have a very bad relationship, mostly in the fact that I don't know what it actually does. And so sometimes I throw it out and I use the wrong spells with it anyway. But then Caleb always winds up correcting me. I think I should just Exfer into Brack is typically the theory.
It drops all of the elemental type resistances on the person, whether they're wearing a ribbon or not. And in the case of something like Chaos, it makes Mute and Break go from being 3 in 256 chance to like 6 in 256. I don't know. It goes to a respectable percentage, maybe 12. 6%, but something else out of 256. Math is hard. Don't do math on Twitch. Point is that it becomes a realistic win condition if you land the Exfer first. But there's the question of landing the Exfer.
Meanwhile, on stream, we sadly see Desk Plume reset out of carry 2. Nuclear came out, wiping just about everyone. I decided a redive would be quicker than watching the party fall apart.
Yeah, this has been a rough one for them. I think after this many wipes, if you've got a couple ways you can kind of change your strategy up. You can use different spells and skills, different combinations of those things on the bosses. Maybe conserve your resources differently. Don't use them on a random. Use them on a certain boss, save them for a later boss, whatever. You've got to make those adjustments. But if those adjustments don't work out, sometimes it's about your raw levels or gear, and you really do need to go back and find an alternative win condition or just a few extra levels so your HP pools are safer, a few extra magic charges so you can, throw out those Cure 4s more haphazardly if you need to.
I think
now is also taking a couple of sideways turns here through Topher. Might just be getting a little bit exhausted or flustered with the, frankly, very, very long, exhausting redives of Topher they've been through.
Yeah, I think all of our runners, myself included, have been a bit happy that last week was short Topher, so not running into any of these problems as far as this dungeon was concerned. Resetting out was a very quick affair, if necessary.
Oh yeah, did y'all happen to see where I exit?
Can you say that once again? I think you just cut out very briefly.
Oh, did y'all notice that exit and warp was both level 8 Gaia? I think.
Oh wow! No, I wasn't following the Gaia magic, but I'm sure one of our trackers, who are awesome, wrote it down somewhere. Or no? Okay, we weren't tracking magic tonight, so thank you for telling us that.
Yeah, I got all the way through level 7 magic, didn't see it, and figured it must be 8, and that's worthless at this point. Especially going for low level.
Yeah, I specifically checked 8 and Gaia just so I can make sure I see it and just kind of curse at it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, depending on your routing, right? In these flags with Gaia being accessible, once you get the canoe, you could go there before you've seen all of the other magic, and so you're going to want to check and rule those things out anyways.
Yeah, seeing both warp and exit roll that high certainly hurts when Topher sometimes is a viable grind location, but without a way to exit out, save, recharge your spells, and get back in there, it sort of just wastes resources that you should be saving for deeper into Topher.
Yeah, it almost looks like Dusk Plume is just a little bit lower level on each of the characters, maybe by 1 or 2 than when I fought Chaos.
Yeah, chat pointing out that the White Mage Duskplume have is very low level. That White Mage was pretty much on the ground for the entire seed up until here at the end, going into Topher. Which could be part of the reason we're not seeing quite as much maybe defensive magic coming out, or any AoE effects will immediately dirt that White Mage.
Yeah, I think the White Mage role here is just throw out like 1 or 2 fades and sort of say, I'm helping, before dying to, whatever it is that Kraken, Carry 2 and Kraken 2 have been unleashing.
Yeah, I actually planned my group before going into this. I knew I wasn't going to take a White Mage, because in these kind of flag sets, I kind of deep these solid white to relegate it to my Knight and Red Mage, the Red Wizard.
Yeah, when I saw the Fade was red learnable, and then there was also bracket level 1, it was a very hard sell to keep a White Mage in this party. And we see how, at least in my case, the Brax paid off, I think.
Yeah, as far as we know, you were the only runner who was even just randomly throwing out Brax as a strat. Or at least you were on stream. But certainly the fans love to see it, myself included.
I mean, I had something like 20 casts, but I might as well throw them out.
From Lit 3, honestly, on a Fiend Revisited, I'll take it. Lit 3's all around from our red casters, our black casters, who are both red and black. And the fighter is hanging in there. Carrie's response is yet another hit in the first slot, so gonna have to get through this fight with magic, but we've dealt a good 800 or so to Carrie. I think, yeah, there we go, and Fade is terminated. So Duskplume will get to see Kraken 2 for the first time, following this the successful carry kill.
And while Duskplume was ridding the world of Carry 2, we had Wildham finish off stream in 8th place at a time of 1 hour, 48 minutes, 1 second. And then 19 seconds later, we have Iker finishing at 148.20. So GG's to those 2 runners as well.
Yeah, and GG's to anyone sticking it out as deep into this seed as they have been, because it's clearly had some stumbling blocks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Duskplume's first encounter with Kraken 2. What are our options here? Invis 2 from the fighter, Invis 2 from the red mage. We're going to go for the 6% break, channeling our Inner Shumbabi, and I think there's a white shirt or an Invis 2 cast down there from the white mage. So all relevant things. Don't want to get punched out by Kraken. The lurking scariness is the nuclear and the cure 4. Cure 4 just meaning that we take a lot longer. Break goes wide. Alright, now we're going to fast the fighter, throw out some more breaks, and wait with the white mage. Conserve those 2 charges for... or those charges of those 2 spells for possibly the next fight. Thunder comes out. Oof, white mage is done for and puts our black mage on one knee. What are our options here? Switching up to Bane. Bane and break. So a bunch of insta-kill spell tries with melee from the fighter. Fighter unfortunately only contributed about 60 damage on that round. Swinging 3 hits 24, not quite good enough. Bane is going to be a 3 in 256 chance, goes wide. Break a little bit better, also goes wide. If only this were Kraken 1, it would definitely be dead right now to the insta-kill spells. 6 hits for 9 is not going to do it. Now, this fighter, yeah, I don't think is going to be able to race that clock with a Cure 4 coming around eventually.
I hate to have to, to dip out without all the on-stream runners finishing up, but I do have to head to bed. So I just wanted to throw out thank yous to all of you for the comms, the restreaming, the tracking, and RPG Limit Break for hosting.
Yeah, thanks for being on and interviewing with us and showing a great race on stream for all the Final Fantasy Randomizer fans out there. Have a good night, Shun Bobby.
Let's have a good night, everyone.
And GG's.
Alright, so with that, we're going to get ready to give Duskplume some support here. We're going to send a raid on over to his channel. Why don't we get some final thoughts here from Zero Cool, who's still with us in chat. So, Zero Cool, any final thoughts on the seed?
Well, the seed was as expected, with it being floaterless and basically improved vanilla. It brought me back to my duckling days a little bit. Wasn't all that bad, but for some people it was a little bit daunting. But it was a good old time. Always enjoy a good old seed that doesn't have nuke imps.
And thanks for being on with us, Zero Cool, and running a good race tonight on stream. Hope you enjoy your night as well.
Yeah, everyone enjoy their night, and best of luck to everyone still trying to gun it through this race.
Alright, so let's pass it around the room here too. Velik, any final thoughts on the seed we watched tonight?
Yeah, it was a really good race. I think we saw a lot of some different strats, some different locations being cleared out, some different routing, which is always good to see instead of everyone being on sort of the same linear path. I think it gives the viewers a much more holistic view of the seed and what's going on and what could have possibly gone on. So, GG's to all our runners. Thank you to our wonderful trackers and RPG Limit Break as well as my co-commentators. I had a blast doing comms with you guys. And yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you as well. Cheesinator, as one of our resident veterans here in the booth with us, any final thoughts on what you saw tonight?
I really liked it, echoing Velik's thoughts about seeing that routing diversity, and I loved the chance for some people to get an idea of what some of the classic like two loose strategies are in FFR. This also brings me back because it's kind of how I was brought up on the rando. I didn't give away all my best strats. I did want to, keep a few in my back pocket there because I'll be racing in a few days. But it was nice to get to talk out the ins and outs of the seeds with y'all in the booth. So thanks for having me on, and you have a good night as well.
I was definitely, filing some things away you were saying note-wise in my head to kind of think about what to do. So thank you for sharing. We're going to get ready to send everybody on over to Duskplume here so we can all cheer him on as he tries to work his way through. I want to say thank you as well to both of my co-coms tonight, Velik and Cheesinator. Thank you to JLo and Guardian Marcus for keeping things straight with us behind the scenes in the chat room. And thank you to everybody tonight for joining us here, and RPG Limit Break for hosting us. So with that, we're going to send on over. Let's cheer on Dustplume, and you guys have a good night. So ciao and chillax, everybody. Final Fantasy Randomizer fam. We gone.